Murder trials are things that take a lot of time and require meticulous studying of the evidence gathered in order to uncover the truth and provide justice to the affected. All this laborious process is necessary because of one simple fact: the dead cannot speak. But what if they could speak? That sort of is the entire premise of Firework, an adventure horror game made by Moonlight Cockroach, released in 2021. You take the role of Detective Lin Li-jun, a rookie in this department of the police who arrives in a small town in a Chinese homeland to investigate the case of a fire during a funeral. However, it does not take too long until things start being out of place and supernatural events start happening. Through these, Li-jun acquires hints on unearthing a previously closed investigation about the murder case of the Tian family and proceeds to veer off into his own private investigation on the belief that this will put all the puzzle pieces together and solve this town's mystery. If you're familiar with the tension, then this game will feel right at home. Both have similar presentation and focus a lot more on nailing the ambience rather than trying to spook you with cheap jump scares. They both also are very laid-back experiences, making it so you have no sense of urgency on completing anything, which is nice for more anxious people, especially those that tend to be on the edge with horror games. The game is filled with puzzles to be solved in order to progress through the story, and I thought they were all pretty simple to understand. Of course, that is due to my IQ being stratospheric. I don't expect you mere mortals to quite have the logical reasoning and deduction skills that I have. I even feel a bit envious of how you can revel in such ignorance. But seriously, both the horror aspect and gameplay aspect through the puzzles are tuned just right for most people to enjoy this game, which allows its narrative to shine. Firework tells a story shrouded in the supernatural. Its main motor force lies within the power the spiritual realm has over the mortal world and how people should display the proper respect toward the dead. Those that disturb one's eternal slumber and dare to disrespect the ones who cannot act shall pay with karma. This was the case of Chen Shanrong, a man that engaged in tomb robbery. Using his position as a bank clerk, he managed to get the contacts of influential people to carry out these activities to enrich himself, which would bring temporary fortune until the moment it all came crashing down when his lavish lifestyle became too much for him and his family, and his son passed away due to an illness. Instead of coming to terms with how things came to be, he, instead, chose to pursue the world of dead through a medium, attempting to contact his late son to relieve some of his guilt. However, it was all a sham. The medium was ousted as a charlatan, but Tian kept believing the procedures were working because it was all being orchestrated through his daughter-in-law, Zhao Xiaozhuan. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce this properly. You see, Zhao Zhuan and Yu had a daughter named Fang Fang, but Zhao Zhuan was never quite accepted in the family. Her in-laws would always leave her out, and after Yu's passing, she wanted to move with Fang Fang to a bigger city so she could have better opportunities during her formative years. In fact, her in-laws were incredibly strict in their beliefs, enforcing Fang Fang to behave in a certain way and choking her creativity out of her. When a journalist tasked with finding out about the tomb robbery scheme guised as a substitute teacher arrives in town, she sees Fang Fang's creativity potential and is the one to plant the idea of moving to a bigger city to Chaojuan. so she can both move on from Yu's death and for the benefit of her daughter. However, since the in-laws are against this idea, wanting to stay with Fan Fang until the time of their own passing, Xiao Zhuan follows the idea given to her by the local doctor Ye Jingshan to take their abundant superstitions and act just like their late son so she can gain leverage over them and convince them to follow her wishes. All of what I said is merely a slight overview of what happens in a story. As you play along, you see all of this through a supernatural lens, as the whole family is long gone and their tale is told through an outside perspective looking in as to how everything unfolded. By the end, you are left with a tragic tale of loss, devotion, and love that was so close to having a happy ending, but unfortunately, sometimes it's just not what it's meant to be. As it is stated, sometimes you just have too much karma to be paid. Overall, I enjoyed Firework. While it isn't that engaging with its gameplay, I did feel like it told a great story. I've been told that it dabbles a bit too much into some Chinese stereotypes, but that is not for me to say, and without the proper knowledge of Chinese culture, it felt fresh to me. Either way, if you're a fan of bittersweet stories, Firework might be what you're looking for in a relatively short and accessible experience. Thanks for watching, remember to subscribe to not miss an upload, and as always, take care.